Good morning, all. Welcome to the Planning and Development Committee meeting of the Toowoomba Regional Council. Could I acknowledge those present? Councillors Edwina Farquhar and Councillor Carl will be here shortly. Not at all? Yeah, okay. Could I acknowledge our CEO, Sal Petrosino, and the Acting General Manager of Planning, Joe Kirkwood. The meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council's social media channels. I remind councillors to click Join Meeting in the broad view. I acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose songlines transverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka and Gayabul and Jarawar peoples, and pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. With respect to attendances, including leave of absence and declarations of conflict of interest, there are nil advised. There is a note of leave of absence, Councillor Bill Carl. No resolution is required in that regard, and there are no declarations of prescribed conflicts of interest or declarations of declarable conflicts. The first item on the item on the agenda is the Toowoomba Regional Planning Scheme Project. The quarterly update, 23rd of February to the 15th of May. I ask the General Manager to commence proceedings.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, councillors. So the report today is to provide a quarterly update on the Toowoomba Regional Planning Scheme project for the periods of 23rd of February to the 15th of May. This is the second quarterly report to be presented to Council on the progress of this significant project. The purpose of this report is to provide Council and keep them informed with the progress, delivery and key milestones for the project. This aligns with the Council resolution from 18th of November 2025 requiring quarterly updates. Rather than steal the team's thunder, I'll hand over to Sonia Kirby to give a bit of an update of the considerable work which has been done over the past quarter.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, councillors. This quarter is focused heavily on internal workshops, engagement and detailed drafting for the scheme. We've now moved further into scheme development phase, so we're very much involved in actually the drafting of the material and building on the several years of background studies and strategic work that's been undertaken. Importantly, we secured state approval for the new Chief Executive Notice on the 14th of May 2026, so that supports the project's pathway forward and the milestones and timeframes that we're working towards. A series of drafting workshops have been held with internal teams and specialist consultants to refine the scheme content, and councillors have been engaged through briefings and information sessions helping shape some of the key directions. We've strengthened collaboration through the State Interest Reference Group and Council's Planning and Development Policy and Technical Advice Reference Group, and drafting of both planning provisions and mapping is now well underway. I'm pleased to advise the project remains on track. It's supported by stronger governance arrangements, increased project resourcing, so we've had a lot of staff involved in this project, and finalised the procurement on a number of key items. We have ongoing collaboration with the state and key stakeholders. I do wish to bring to Council's attention that the project team is aware of a number of state government initiatives that are currently underway, which may impact Council's ability to deliver the planning scheme project in accordance with the timeframes outlined in the PMP. Council does have a legislative requirement to demonstrate alignment with key state government mechanisms, such as state planning policies and regional plans. The project team is currently working closely with the state government to understand the scope and timeframes for these initiatives, such as the review of the South East Queensland Regional Plan, and will monitor the potential impact on the delivery of this scheme. We have opportunities for the community to be involved, so we are seeking community input into the work we're currently doing in drafting of the scheme. There is a Your Say page for this project whereby we are asking the community to provide us with insights into the issues that matter to them that need to be addressed in planning for our future and the key priority issues to address in the development of the new scheme. At this stage, we're offering the community an opportunity to follow the Your Say page, whereby they will receive an email alerting to any changes to that page during key milestones. We're asking them to answer 2 questions, rank in order their issues that matter most to them in planning for our future, and to indicate opportunities for improvement for the scheme. Community engagement will continue throughout the project with formal public consultation on the draft expected between February and April 2027, subject to the state government approval. Residents do not need to wait for that formal consultation to get involved. We strongly encourage everyone to visit and follow the Your Say page so they can keep up to date on progress, and their input will help guide the development of the scheme. In the next steps, the next quarter involves significant effort of finalising the drafting, continuing the liaison with the state and technical reference group, undertake testing and legal review of the content in preparation for presenting to Council for endorsement and submission to the state in late 2026. Overall, this is a significant and complex project that is progressing well against the milestones. The recommendation before Council is simply to note the progress made during this reporting period. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Any questions arising? Councillor Manteithel.
Thanks, Chair. Back to you, Sonia. Just can you go over the points you made that we may not be on time with the delivery in the end of 27, or is that, did I
We're not sure what the potential impact is. So there's a number of different state government initiatives that have been announced during the progress of this plan, of this project. So we're aware of the SEQ regional plan, which we're heavily involved in and got strong engagement with. So we're progressing with drafting of the scheme, knowing that these changes might be happening. We do have the opportunity for the next step is for us to bring to council a draft scheme for submission to the state to go through that state interest review process. So we're still working towards that timeframe for that to be submitted, but it depends on the scope and scale of the changes that may be coming through the state between now and that submission period. It depends on how significant that change is or what changes may happen. The state has an option for them to actually come back to us and seek some changes to be made prior to going out to community consultation and engagement. So we'll monitor how that is. We're working closely with the state. We're meeting with them every fortnight, involved in some of those initiatives and providing our input and feedback. If there's any changes required to the project timeframes, we'll have to come back to council to actually seek endorsement for that change. But at the moment, we're progressing, working in partnership with the state and progressing on track at the moment.
Thanks for the clarity.
Any further questions? The Mayor?
Thanks very much, Chair. Through you to Sonia. Thank you, Sonia, for the update. Appreciate being informed on the way. Are you raising any red flags in regard to the potential initiatives that are being brought in by the Queensland Government?
Not red flags at the point, more amber. So we are basically working with them, and I can't see any red flags at this point in time. But that could change within the month or within a few weeks. What we're seeing coming through from the state is there's some significant projects that are coming through with some very, very rapid timeframes that are scheduled for those changes to come into play, but those aren't confirmed. So their timeframes are actually changing at the same time as as we're progressing through this process.
Just to follow up, if I could, and not to confuse the situation, but we've got a lot of things happening parallel here with the state planning, with the SEQ plan, and then of course there's the Darling Downs regional plan. Can you just give a picture on those running rails, if you like, and the timing for those?
So the SEQ regional plan currently under preparation is proposed to be out in consultation late 2026, early 2027, but there's no confirmed dates on what that will actually look like. The Darling Downs regional plan is set to start review process in late 2026. I'm not sure of the consultation, but that's probably more mid-2027. And then we've been informed of state planning policy being reviewed, and that's currently subject to review and looking at an estimated time frame for that to come into play in September of 2027 is the current information that we have available to us. So our approach at this point in time is to work closely with the state, keep informed of what those changes are, and to make sure that our scheme can actually adapt and adjust to whatever those requirements are. And then once it goes through that state interest review process, we expect there'll be some feedback or some insights that are provided further from the state government at that point in time.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Sonia. So my understanding is that those state planning policy changes, they haven't gone through Cabinet, they haven't gone through the parliamentary process yet. So if there are things that are causing amber flags, to use your words, then I'd say that there's other councils who are also raising those amber flags, and that we should be absolutely giving that feedback to the state because it's not set in stone at this point. My question though, Chair, through you, in the report you talk about the meeting of the Planning and Development Policy and Technical Advice Reference Group. That was on the 16th of March. And my question is, can you give us an idea, understanding that you can't go into detail of what's discussed, but can you give us an idea of the topics that are being broached in that group? And also, can you confirm that Ed Johnson is still the chair?
The chair is Ed is still leading that group. That's correct. In terms of the topics that they will be discussing, so the next meeting that we are scheduling, they'll come through June, July. Those conversations with them, and that's where we're starting to test some of the draft concepts and some of the draft content with them. So topics that we're looking to focus with them about delivery of housing, about employment, and about environment and management of environmental issues at this point in time. We're still working through what the final subjects will be as we're progressing through that drafting. So as we're progressing through drafting, we're identifying some points or issues that might be of interest to technical experts, and that's where we're starting to sort of build that agenda through some of the questions that we're raising through that process. In response to your question regarding the state, we have provided advice and response through to a LGAQ survey and also to the state, informing them that we are in the process of preparing a planning scheme and our concerns raised with the timeframes that they're actually progressing through. We haven't heard any feedback on that, but we are aware that LGAQ have been doing some work and that has been issued to the state. We have no further feedback on that, and we are not the only council that's actually raised those issues or concerns.
Any further questions? If not, the motion that we have to deal with is that Council note the progress made on the Toowoomba Regional Planning Scheme for the period 23rd of February, 15th of May. Could I have somebody to move that motion? Councillor Tim. Councillor Manteifel seconded. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That concludes this meeting of the Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you, Deanne. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Water and Waste Committee meeting for the 2nd of June 2026. I welcome you all and advise that this meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. Thank you to those of you who are present in the room, and I acknowledge everyone watching on Council's social media plans. May I acknowledge Mayor Councillor Jeff McDonald, Deputy Mayor Councillor Rebecca Von Hoff, CEO Sal Petrosito, and the general managers and officers in the room. I acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Guyabal and the Jarawar peoples, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, the rich traditions and the bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. There are nil apologies advised, but I do note a leave of absence of Councillor Bill Carl with no resolution required. And as there are no reports, yes, Councillor Edwina is on her way. There are no reports for the Water and Waste Committee, so I do declare the meeting closed at 9:15. Oh,
Sorry, Chair. We may, and we didn't do it in the last one either, actually, we should record Edwina as an apology because it's just for that committee.
okay.
So we probably should.
You've already done that? Okay, thank you. CEO has noted that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Deanne. And I, as I said, do declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Welcome to the Infrastructure Committee meeting at Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council's social media channels. I acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Gubba and Jarawar peoples, and pay respects to the elders past and present emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich and traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. Apologies nil advised. Noting leave of absence, Councillor Bill Carl, no resolution required. Meeting concluded.
Morning, colleagues. Can I take a moment to welcome you to the Environment and Community Committee meeting of the Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will be live streamed. I'd like to thank those who are in the room with us today, acknowledging everyone watching via Council's social media channels and the many members of the public in the gallery today. Colleagues, can I please ask you to click join meeting in your board view. Hopefully you are all in fact here present and voting. As we move to item 2, attendance, including absence of declaration of conflicts of interest, noting we have a leave of absence already approved for Councillor Carl and no resolution is required. We have one item today, colleagues. I will just check before we start. Are there any declared or prescribed conflicts of interest that need to be brought to the table? Excellent. We'll move to item 3, which is today the naming of the park, Dr. John Swarbrick. The motion that we're here to discuss, colleagues, is the Council resolved to rename Lot 51 as Dr. John Swarbrick Park and suitable park naming signage be installed. Good morning, Nick, and acknowledging the CEO and the Council staff in the room, and I'll hand over to Nick for item 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors.
Sorry, Councillor Edwina.
Sorry, Chair. Apologies, and it's not really a conflict of interest, but I just want to note that I live in the suburb.
So thanks for that. So you've noted it. You've brought to the table now. Do you require to test the room on whether you have a conflict?
I don't believe I have anything more to gain or lose than anyone else.
Propose that the naming of a park in a suburb, unless you live next door, is general council business. Would you like? How would you like me to proceed, Councillor?
Leave it. Thank you, Chair.
Happy to leave it.
Yeah. Thank
CEO,
you.
can you note?
It's more of a mention. I don't believe there's any form of conflict there. I live in a suburb and have nothing more to gain or lose than anyone else. But if you think now that I've raised it, I need to test the room, I'm happy to do that too, Chair.
Well, that's up to you. I don't think you do, but it's been noted by the CEO, and we can move on unless you want to.
Please move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others, colleagues? Thank you. Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Councillors, this report seeks your consideration of a request to name a section of parkland within Prince Henry Drive Park as Dr. John Swarbrick Park. Before I get too much further, I just do need to point out for you that the park has been incorrectly referred to as a local recreation park in the purpose of the report, but it is indeed a bushland park, so just a minor correction for your awareness there. The attachments clearly show the park that we are subject of the report today. By way of brief context, the late Dr. Swarbrick was a long-standing and highly regarded member of the Toowoomba community with a particular focus on environmental management and bushland restoration across the escarpment. He was instrumental in establishing the Friends of the Escarpment Parks, which continues to play a significant role in the stewardship of our bushland parks today. The specific parcel proposed for naming is closely connected to that work, including early weed management activities and ongoing community stewardship. The request aligns with Council's naming and renaming of council assets policy, which provides for recognition of individuals who have made a substantial and verifiable contribution to the community. Importantly, the consultation process demonstrated strong community support for the proposal with a clear majority of respondents in favour. On that basis, the recommendation before you is to proceed with the naming as proposed.
I will go to any questions from the floor. Councillor Carroll.
Not a question as much, Mr Chair, but I support this 100% and recognise the efforts that have been put in by a small group of people up there over many, many years, and their weed protection of that area and the work that they've done to increase the amenity and biodiversity of that area can't be discounted. And indeed, at our council and the mayor's send thank you to our volunteers. One of the volunteers there was 100 years old. So I'd like to encourage, while mentioning that, I'm happy to move this, but I'd like also to encourage other people who have time that would give up some of their hours to go and help this group to keep maintaining the work that they're doing up there, as most of them are ageing. So thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Happy to move it if there's no other questions. Thanks.
Thanks very much for your comment, Councillor Carroll. I will hold your moving and go to other questions. Councillor Shine.
Thanks, Chair. Basically, just to second the remarks of Councillor Taylor, Dr. Swarbrick was a very enthusiastic environmentalist who, as the local member at the time, kept me on my toes and well informed about what was needed for the range, and particularly, I think this is the most appropriate proposition that we're moving, hopefully today. And as I said, he was a person who Toowoomba really owes a lot to him and to his memory. Happy to second the motion if need
Happy
be.
to second. Thank you, Councillor Shine. Are there any other questions, colleagues? Nick, I did receive some media attention when we named another park around the costs associated with doing it. My recollection, it was simply the printing of the sign at the sign shop.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Tim. In the financial resources implication section of the park, it says the estimated cost for the design, construction, installation of an appropriate park naming sign will be approximately $925.
Just wanted to highlight that, less than 1,000. So, colleagues, in the lack of questions, I have a mover in Councillor Carroll, I have a seconder in Councillor Shine. The motion being that Council resolved to rename Lot 51 SP 191619, which is clearly outlined in attachment 2, as Dr. John Swarbrick Park, and suitable park naming signage be installed. Colleagues, is there any reason to go into debate? With the lack thereof, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? The motion is passed without dissent. Thank you very much, and I will move to item 4, which is to conclude the meeting. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Corporate Services Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council's social media channels. Reminder, councillors to click join meeting in board view. Attendance, including leave of absence and declaration of conflict of interest. Apologies nil advised. Noting leave of absence, Councillor Bill Carl, no resolution required. Declaration prescribed conflict of interest, nil advised. Declaration of declarable conflict of interest, nil advised. Today it's the sale of land for overdue rates and charges. Motion that Council, I won't read it, it's up on the board, and I'll hand over to Anne-Marie to.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Council has the legislative power to sell land for overdue rates and charges, and the purpose of this report is to consider enacting that power for specific properties in the Toowoomba Regional Council area. The process outlined in the report is an effective way to recover overdue rates and charges, where some or all of the overdue rates and charges have been overdue for 3 or more years. Happy to take any questions, and Shane's also here if there's any specific questions.
Thanks, Chair. GM Emery, what process has led up to this with communication with the ratepayers to say, hey, you've reached the last straw before it goes to this? And then I'll follow up after that.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. So our processes are quite extensive. So over each year, there's our ratepayers are advised when there's overdue rates and charges. When we don't get suitable responses from ratepayers in relation to paying rates and charges, is that they are well informed as to what the process would then be, so that they get pre-warning of, they're entering the sale of land phase. So those customers would have got correspondence over the last year regarding that. We do our best to enter into payment arrangements with customers, and given that we have 80,000 rateable properties, or almost 80,000 properties in the region, we're just left at the moment with 49 that we've been unsuccessful in establishing adequate payment arrangements or any payment arrangements. So it is quite an exhaustive process with phone calls and correspondence and so forth.
And this number, 49, I think you said, is this comparable to other years when we go through the same process?
Yes, Councillor Trevor. So in 2025, we had 47 properties, of which none were sold because they were all paid prior to auction. And in 2024, there was 58 properties, of which 2 were auctioned. So the numbers typically hover around that 50 to 60.
Thank you so much.
Happy to move.
Do I have a second for the motion? Okay. Do we need to go into debate? No. If there are no further comments, we'll now vote on the motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous. All those against? The motion is carried.
Good morning and welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I'd like to thank those of you in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone who's watching via our social media channels. We have no apologies advised, and I'd like to note a leave of absence for Councillor Bill Carl. No resolution is required. As we have no substantive items on the agenda, I would now like to conclude this meeting. Thank you.